But first off, I want to say just a couple of perfunctory guiding ideas, as I do every meeting, that this is a virtual meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We feel it is prudent, at least during this period of time, and then we'll see. We're conducting it under Minnesota statutes section 13D.021. Regrettably, we cannot have public testimony, but we do have a website for the public who are listening can email us at public.info@metc.state.mn.us. That address is on the agenda, and your comments will be responded to in a timely manner. I also ask council members to wave or shout out to get my attention if you'd like to speak. But for the purposes of a roll call, just saying, unmuting and saying yes. I ask that if you wouldn't mind muting if you're not speaking, that would make things a little easier. Also, when you do speak, please say your name so that those who are dialing in will be able to know. So, as always, Liz is not keeping track how many times she has said each of your names, but I would be interested. It's quite a bit. I love seeing a few visiting people who are joining us. Hello, John, and a few others. It's great to see your faces. And as a way of roll call to determine if we have a quorum, Liz will start with the roll. So, Liz?
Okay. Atlas Ingebretson. Atlas Ingebretson. Barber.
Here.
Chambliss.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Ferguson.
Here.
Fredson.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Johnson. Johnson. Lee. Lee.
Here.
Lindstrom.
Here.
Musset.
Here.
Sterner.
Here.
Bento.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Zurin.
Present.
Chairzelli.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. We're getting a lot of feedback, and I'm going to ask everybody to check their that they've muted. In fact, because the snoop that I am, thank you, Mr. Johnny. I was just going to call you out. Actually, I just did. But please stay muted unless you are speaking, in which case we invite you to unmute. So the first order of business is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Approval.
Kelly, motion to approve the agenda. This is Sterner.
Sterner, thank you. A second?
Both seconds.
Well, second, thank you so much. Any discussion? Hearing none, Liz, please call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson. Barber.
Aye.
Chambliss.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Ferguson.
Aye.
Fredson.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Johnson. Lee.
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Musset.
Aye.
Sterner.
Aye.
Bento.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Zurin.
Aye.
Chairzelli.
Aye. The motion's carried. As you can see, we have a very full agenda with lots of business items ahead of us. Next order of business is approval of the minutes from June 10th meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
Cummings move to approve.
Thank you, Molly. A second?
Second by Barber.
Thanks, Deb. Any discussion? Hearing none. Liz, please call the roll. That was an aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings, Cummings,
Aye.
thank you. Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Johnson, Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. Thank you. That motion carried. So now we have the business item, a joint report of the Transportation, Environment, Community Development, and Management Committees. And that is going to be led by Council Member Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is business item 2020-141JC, same week. It's an amended business item. This amendment incorporates changes to the 2020 operating and capital budget reviewed and approved by the Transportation Committee on June 8th, the Environmental Services Committee on June 9th, the Management Committee on June 10th, and the Community Development Committee on June 15th. An additional item was added to the amendment for the 2020 capital budget, which was reviewed and approved by the Transportation Committee on June 22nd and the Management Committee on June 24th. There are three changes to the operating budget. First, there's an increase in expenditures of $1.2 million in the regional administration budget to bring 2 full-time equivalents and additional non-capital expenditures into the regional administration information services budget. These expenses are moving from the 2020 Metro Transit budget and will in turn be allocated back from Metro Transit. Second, there are two additions to the community development operating budget. The expense budget for Metro HRA will increase by $1 million, and the Livable Communities pass-through budget grant will increase by $6.1 million for TVRA and LCDA grants. These increases will be supported by additional federal funds and additional use of reserves. Third, there's an increase of $12.1 million in pass-through funds to the suburban transit providers. These grants will be supported by additional federal revenues from the CARES Act, funds allocated to the council for the pandemic. There are three remaining changes to the capital budget. First, there's an increase of $139,000 to the Community Development Authorization Capital Program, or ACP, for 2 projects supported by legacy funds. Second, there's an increase of $20 million to the Environmental Services, ACP, and a reduction of the same amount in the Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, for asset renewal. Last, there are changes or additions to 36 projects in the Transportation ACP and 15 projects that are closed out. Included is an additional $74.97 million into the ACP from Hennepin County Southwest Light Rail Project. Mr. Chair, the motion is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the 2020 unified budget as indicated in accordance with the attached table.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second by Lee.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Any discussion, questions, thoughts? All right, hearing none. Liz, please call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Johnson, Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Now we're on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Bento moves approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Sterner, second.
Thank you, Phil. Any discussion? All right, Liz, please call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. Right, thank you. That motion carried. Next, we're going to hear from some standing committees. First, the Community Development. Councilmember Lilligren is actually on a roundtable representing Native communities with Senator Smith, so we certainly gave him a pass for the meeting, and we're lucky that we're putting Councilmember Susan Vento to work today in this meeting. So, Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I fear my colleagues will be having nightmares tonight with my voice being a reoccurring thread in those nightmares. But anyway,
Not at all.
bear with me. We've got a lot of turf to cover here. Mr. Chair, council members, business item 2020-151 is to authorize the Lakeland Shores 2040 comprehensive plan. Lakeland Shores is located in the eastern part of Washington County and is designated as rural residential by Thrive MSP 2040. The city currently has about 310 households. Based on discussions with city staff, council staff agree that the city is not expected to grow in population, households, or employment during the 2020-2040 timeline. The city does not have regional water service, nor is it planned to have that service in the planning horizon. Council staff find that the 2040 plan conforms to regional system plans, is consistent with council policies with proposed changes to forecasts, and is compatible with the plans of adjacent and affected jurisdictions. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached advisory comments and review record and take the following actions. 1, authorize the city of Lakeland Shores to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect. 2, revise the city of Lakeland Shores forecasts as shown in table 1 of the review record. 3, advise the city to provide to the council the date the Water Management Office approves the final local water management plan and the date the city adopts the final LWMP, and advise the city to provide the council with a copy of the final adopted LWMP when available.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second by Gonzalez.
Thank you, Francisco. Any discussion? All right, Liz, you're on.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin, Zurin.
Aye. I am here.
Thank you. And Chair Zeli.
Aye. That motion carried. Sue?
Mr. Chair, council members, business item 2020-155 is to award $300,000 in Livable Communities Demonstration Account Pre-Development Grant Funds to support 4 pre-development projects in 4 cities. Pre-development grants are intended for applicants that are defining a project through such activities as design workshops, the development of site plans, financial analyses, market studies, project-specific stormwater management plans, or geotechnical analysis, fiscal, travel demand management, or impact analyses in support of an identified future development project. Applications were received from the cities of Brooklyn Center, Richfield, St. Paul, and Brooklyn Park Economic Development Authority. Each of these projects will add affordable housing, increase density, and further LCA goals. 2 funding options were presented. Funding 1 would award 4 Livable Communities Demonstration Account Awards at $300,000. Funding option 2 would award 3 Livable Communities Demonstration Account Awards at $300,000. Staff has recommended, and the Community Development Committee concurred with funding option 1, which provides $50,000 for the city of Brooklyn Park, $50,000 for the city of Richfield, $100,000 for the city of St. Paul, and $100,000 for the Brooklyn Park Economic Development Authority. So this option awards grants to all 4 of the applicants. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council award 4 Livable Communities Demonstration Account pre-development grants for $300,000 as shown in the table, and authorize its Community Development Division Director to execute the grant agreements on behalf of the council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second. Chambliss. Second. Chambliss. Second.
Chambliss. All righty. Any discussion? All right, Liz?
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zeli.
Aye. That motion carried. Sue?
Mr. Chair and council members, business item 2020-156 is to award $200,000 in Livable Communities Demonstration Account Transit-Oriented Development Pre-Development Grant Funds to support 2 pre-development projects in 2 cities. The pre-development grant category is designed to focus on a future development or redevelopment project that exemplifies LCA transit-oriented development goals and will provide resources to help lead to a project that is not another typical development and one that can be demonstrated or replicated elsewhere in the region. Applications were received from the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Each of these projects will diversify land uses, as well as incorporate and increase access to essential needs in the transit-oriented development area, including food access and open public space. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council award 2 Livable Communities Demonstration Account Transit-Oriented Development Pre-Development Grants for $200,000 as shown in the table in the business item, and to authorize its Community Development Division Director to execute the grant agreements on behalf of the council.
Mr. Chair, you're muted.
I called for a second. I wonder why nobody would respond.
This is Fredson, I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just
Liz.
one question.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, one question. Yeah. So just given all that's happened both in the Midway and on Lake Street and elsewhere, do we have any opportunities for more grants later this year? Some of these buildings and blocks are getting redeveloped, that we can potentially be helpful in some of those opportunities?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Ferguson, I'm not sure the exact amount, but there is some available. I'm just not sure the exact amount.
Okay, that's fine. We can have staff just send us out a note.
Right.
Thank you.
Maybe staff can follow up with some of that information. That'd be great. Any other questions, thoughts, discussion? All righty, Liz.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carries. Sue, one more.
Okay, actually, there's a couple more here. Hang on, I've got to get it in front of me here so I can apologize. Okay, Mr. Chair and council members, this action is to award $3 million in Livable Communities Tax-Based Revitalization Account grant funds to support 12 redevelopment sites. Upon completion, the projects are expected to result in an annual tax base increase of $2.7 million, over 1,300 new housing units, including 67 units of affordable housing for households earning, households earning below 30% of the area median income, 241 units at 50% AMI, 370 units at 60% AMI, 89 units at 80% AMI, over 600 new and retained jobs, and $340 million of leveraged private investment. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council, 1, award 12 tax-based revitalization account grants totaling $3 million to assist redevelopment projects in the cities of Minnetonka, Minneapolis, New Brighton, Shakopee, and St. Paul, and 2, authorize its Community Development Division Director to execute the grant agreements on behalf of the council.
Great. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second by
Fredson, I'll
Barber.
second.
All right. Fredson, second. Thank you. Any discussion, questions? No? Liz?
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
thank you,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Now, there is one more, Molly. I have an old agenda. I'm sorry, Sue.
Got it. Mr. Chair, and council members, business item 2020-172 is a commitment to the Global Covenant of Mayors as a metro scale climate leader. The Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy is an alliance for city and local government climate leadership. The council applied in April 2019 to join the Metro Scale Climate Leader program, but was unsuccessful at that time. Due to another region dropping out of the program, a space had opened, and the Global Covenant of Mayors has invited the Metropolitan Council to join. Other regions include the Chicago Metropolitan Region, the Kansas City Region, and the Metropolitan DC Region. To participate, the council must commit to complete several tasks, which are in Table 2 of this business item. As noted, all of the commitments are either items that the council has completed or items that represent ongoing work or are projects that are currently under development. No new work is required outside of what the council is already has underway. As part of the Metro Scale Climate Leaders, the council would receive technical assistance from the Global Covenant of Mayors, would have the opportunity to learn from other regions in this cohort, and would connect our climate work to that of others in the United States and internationally. The technical assistant with the Global Covenant of Mayors will help further the council's efforts toward meeting the goals identified in Minnesota's Next Generation Energy Act. It will be consistent with the governor's executive order 19-37 on establishing a climate change subcabinet to promote coordinated climate change mitigation and resilience strategies in the region, and help further the work identified in Thrive MSP 2040 and in the council's sustainability priority. So the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council take the following actions. Number one, commit to the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, joining thousands of other cities and local governments around the world currently engaged in climate leadership. Two, specifically within no more than 3 years of this commitment, the council pledges to develop, formally adopt, and report on the following: a community scale greenhouse gas emission inventory, an assessment of climate hazards and vulnerabilities, ambitious, measurable, and time-bound targets to reduce and limit greenhouse gas emissions, ambitious adaptation, vision and goals based on quantified scientific evidence when possible to increase local resilience to climate change, and E, ambitious and just goals to improve access to a sustainable energy, and F, plan to address climate change mitigation, low emission development, climate resilience and adaptation, and access to sustainable energy, including provisions for regular progress reports. 3, council targets and action plans for mitigation, low emission development will be quantified and consistent with or exceed relevant national commitments defined through the United States nationally determined contribution. The council acknowledges that there may be additional region or country-specific commitments to adhere to, agreed through local membership networks or through direct engagement with local Global Covenant of Mayors partners. And 5, the council acknowledges, the council acknowledges that continued membership in the Global Covenant of Mayors and associated local chapters or regional covenants as established is contingent on complying with the above requirements within established timeframes.
Right. Is there a second to the motion?
Second, Lindstrom.
Lindstrom, thank you. I have to say, I'm pretty excited about this, being able to be part of this Covenant of Mayors. It is mostly cities, but very few regions, and I think it is work we're normally doing. It's work that we should be doing. It raises the profile of our work, and we can learn from it. So I'm kind of excited, having kind of gone through the website, and I encourage others to do as well. Is there any discussion? All right, Liz?
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Nay.
Zuren,
Aye.
Chair Zelli.
Aye. All right, that motion carried. All right, the next report is from the Environment Committee and Council Member Lindstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Business item number 2019-169 requests the award, negotiation, and execution of contract 19P211 for the Blue Lake Solids Management Assistance. Members, this is a 20-year contract that has been in effect with a company called NEFCO, New England Fertilizer Company, and this contract expires in December 2020. And during this contract period, NEFCO designed and constructed what's called the final stabilization facility. And this facility converts solids from the treatment plant into a marketable fertilizer product that's used for farmers and fertilizer companies and hardware stores. The facility itself was constructed back in 1999 as part of the original contract. The proposed contract has the same framework. It has a 10-year term and provisions for 2 5-year renewals. An RFP was issued back in January 22nd, and we had 2 site visits and we had 2 proposals which were received on April 16th. An evaluation panel selected the New England Fertilizer Company, or NEFCO, as the most advantageous for the council, with the inability to subcontract management or operations to another vendor. There are no MCUB firms with the expertise or experience with the produced end product that could perform the service. Mr. Chair and members, I move that the Met Council authorize, award, negotiation, and execution of contract 19P211 with New England Fertilizer Company in the amount of $23.5 million for the Blue Lake Solids Management Assistance.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Bento seconds.
All right, I heard Cummings. Any discussion? Question?
Wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
Wasn't me.
Oh. Who was it?
Bento.
Sorry, Vento. Thank you. Any discussion, question? All right, Liz?
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zuren,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Next is the report from the Management Committee, and that is Councilmember Ferguson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This is business item 2020-168, prevailing wage policy for construction projects. This policy covers prevailing wages for our construction projects. The Management Committee reviewed the resolution at its June 10th meeting. Council staff are directed, where there is no state or federal funds involved, to administer this requirement in the same manner as if state funds were used to fund the project. Minnesota Statute Section 471.345 outlined the council's authority to establish a prevailing wage rates as a minimum standard for wages by classification of work. The council's current procurement policy procedures require that laborers, workers, and mechanics on council construction projects funded by either state or federal funds be paid comparable to wages paid for similar work in the community as a whole. This request is to change the policy and include prevailing wages in construction contracts greater than the formal advertisement threshold of $175,000, regardless of which funding type. This change will allow the council to continue to have the high quality of laborers, ensure that the laborers working on our projects are compensated at a fair wage. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt resolution 2020-168, resolving that the council modify procurement policies and procedures to require laborers, workers, and mechanics on all council projects, public works, construction, and maintenance projects that are let by sealed bid, and all design build construction projects that are let by formal request for proposals after public notice be paid wages comparable to wages paid for similar work in the community as a whole, effective August 2020.
Okay. Is there a second?
Chambliss, second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? I could make a note that was brought to my attention, and unless I get different clarification from the general counsel, that comparable wages are determined in Minnesota Statute 177 under labor standards and wages. Confusion about what comparable wages as a defined term means. Yes, Councilmember Fredson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thanks to you and to RA Vedas and all of the staff that our support have been working on this, and then obviously to the fellow council members that are supporting it. I know that Jessica Lumen, the executive director of the Minnesota Building Trades, did some advocacy around this, and I just think it's the Met Council is no stranger to executing prevailing wage, but I think this is an important step for all of those resources that aren't directly tied to the federal government. It's a way for us to ensure that we're creating family supporting jobs for construction workers, and it's a way to ensure that they're competing on a level playing field, and ultimately it protects the taxpayer. So appreciate folks' support.
Thank you. And I think certainly my former colleague, Ms. Lumen, and I think the management and you have brought that to our attention. It makes sense. Any other discussion, questions? All right, Liz?
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Hudson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf, Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Now on to the Transportation Committee. Council Member Barber is still with us, but I know it had to leave at some point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
She's
think
here.
I'll be able to make it through. So thank you very much. We have 3 items for consideration tonight. The first item is business item number 2020-162. So Chair, Council members, business item number 2020-162 regarding the authorization to execute pass-through grant agreements to the regional transit providers for the 2020 CARES Act funding. Council action is required for the regional administrator to execute agreements over $500,000. The FTA allocated approximately $226 million in CARES funds to the Metropolitan Council, and the council allocated funds to all regional transit providers using established allocation formulas. Just over $1 million will be passed through via grant agreements, and council will retain the balance. Funding will be used to support operations and other eligible expenses to prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID-19. This item was contingent upon adoption of the business items for the second quarter 2020 budget amendment that we passed earlier this evening. This item proposes adoption of $12,131,270 into the MTS pass-through fund. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute grant agreements with Maple Grove Transit, Minnesota Valley Transit Authority, Plymouth Metrolink, Southwest Transit, and the University of Minnesota for the amounts that are outlined in the business item.
Great. Thank you. Is there a second?
Cummings, second.
Thank you, Molly. Cummings. Any discussion, questions? If not, Liz, call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Deb?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2020-167 is releasing the draft update to the 2040 Transportation Policy Plan for a 45-day public comment period and sets a public hearing date on July 27, 2020 at 4 p.m. to receive comments on the draft plan. The current TPP was adopted in October 2018. The plan is required to be updated at least every 5 years, which would put the next required update into late 2023. The timing does not work well as the council will be in the midst of developing the region's next regional development guide. The TPP would then need to be updated to be again consistent with the regional plan. It was determined that a better course of action would be to adopt a minor update in the plan in 2020, which would allow the next major update of the TPP to occur in 2024, concurrent with the development and adoption with the 2050 regional plan. The update has been reviewed by TAB and its committee, who recommended that it be released for public comments. The public comment will occur for 45 days along with a public hearing before the Transportation Committee on July 27, 2020. A public comment report, including responses to the comments received, will be produced in August and provided as an information item to Council and TAB in September. It is expected that additional revisions to the plan will be made in response to the public comments. The final revised update will be recommended by TAB in October, and the council will be asked to adopt that plan in November. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council, for the purposes of holding a public hearing and receiving public comments, release the 2020 draft update to the 2040 Transportation Policy Plan for public review and comments, and authorize a public comment period from June 25th, 2020 to August 7th, 2020, including a public hearing on the draft document to be held on July 27th, 2020 at 4 p.m.
Yeah, ours. If they have them, it's a new thing
Is there a second?
because there wouldn't be that much life in it.
Second by Gonzalez.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. Any discussion, question? Hearing none. Liz, call the roll.
Atlas Ingebrigtsen,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Sorry.
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento.
Aye.
Thank you. Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. One more, Deb.
All right. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2020-176 is requesting a fourth amendment to the Hennepin County and Hennepin County Regional Authority Capital Grant Agreement for the LNTP period. The original capital grant agreement with Hennepin County and Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority was executed in December of 2018. The first three amendments were to extend the time and to add additional money to the agreement. This fourth amendment will provide additional funding and extend the agreement for activities needed through August 2020. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the fourth amendment to the capital grant agreement with Hennepin County and Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority to extend the duration to August 31st, 2020 and add $74,969,769, bringing the total grant amount to $677,765,449.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second by Lee.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none. Liz?
Atlas Ingebrigtsen,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Next is the joint report of Environment and Community Development Committees, and Councilmember Bento back in.
Mr. Chair and colleagues, the following two business items are comprehensive plans that are for communities connected to the regional wastewater system and were all heard in the community development and environment committees. For both communities, council staff found that the 2040 plans conform to regional system plans, are consistent with council policies, and are compatible with the plans of adjacent and affected jurisdictions. The first item is business item 2020-149 to authorize the 2040 comprehensive plan for the city of Edina and improve their comprehensive sewer plan. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached advisory comments and review record and take the following actions. 1, approve the city of Edina's comprehensive sewer plan. 2, prior to final adoption, the final plan needs to include a map that clearly identifies the local pipe ID that corresponds to the connection to the regional system. And recommendations of the Community Development Committee include 1, authorize the city of Edina to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect. 2, revise the city's forecast upward as shown in Table 1 of the attached review record. 3, revise the city's affordable housing need allocation for 2021-2030 to 1,804 units. And 4, advise the city to implement the advisory comments in the review record for water supply.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Cummings.
Thank you, Molly. Any discussion? Hearing none. Liz?
I've got a question.
Oh, yes, you have a question. Sorry, Rita. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just had a question out of curiosity. The affordable housing that's in Edina, the 751 units. Are we making any distinction between senior housing and regular housing units?
Mr. Chair, this is Councilmember Vento. I don't know the answer to that, Councilmember Chambliss, and I don't believe that Director Barajas is on the call tonight, but I can find out and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
I see Michael Larson is here
Oh.
with us. Michael, do you have any insight into that question?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the council.
You can't hide from me here.
In terms of the city's adjusted affordable allocation of regional affordable housing needs, there is no distinction in senior versus non-senior affordable housing, but there are, based on Formula 3 allocation bands, related to the different levels of affordability.
Thank you, Chair. If I may ask another question?
Sure.
Mr. Larson, is it possible to, since senior housing is becoming more and more affordable, senior housing is becoming more and more common, I would like to, I think there would be some value in seeing the information broken down as to what cities are planning for senior housing and non-senior housing that is affordable. Is that something that we could request? It's kind of in the middle of the process, but maybe at some cut point.
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Chambliss, certainly, I don't believe that would be me, but I can certainly bring that back to Chair Barajas in our housing policy, people and community development to follow up with your immediate question, as well as the potential for incorporating that into a discussion about housing affordability and construction trends.
Specifically, the comprehensive plan not framework, but the outline, would that be able to be included? I mean, I like your suggestion too, to have a discussion about it, but it certainly would be helpful to see that broken down.
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Chambliss, I hear what you're saying. I'm also noticing that Councilmember Wolf was raising her hand.
No, that's all right. Maybe Councilmember Wolf, you were raising your hand. Did you have a comment on this issue?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Typically, in their comprehensive plans, the cities don't differentiate between on high density housing. They don't differentiate on what is going to be built there. It's up to the property owner to decide. It may or may not end up being affordable housing. It may or may not end up being senior housing. It's just so many units per acre, eight or more, 12 or more, whatever the city designates that land as. They don't say this particular parcel is going to be a certain kind of housing. It just has the rights of a certain amount of density. We do in community development, however, get an update about once a year on what affordable housing has been constructed in the region over the past year. There's a lag in the data usually, so we get data from a couple years ago when it's presented to us, And that breaks down the different bands of affordability and also whether it's senior housing or just general occupancy housing. So we get the after the fact after it's built, but cities don't decide in their comprehensive plan what is going to be built on a particular parcel.
Understood, which is why I'm asking. I do know that cities make a decision on which developers are selected, which developments are selected. And I'm seeing a predominance with senior housing as affordable housing. Perhaps this should just start as a discussion. We're looking at life cycle housing and the varieties of life cycle housing overall, but I think it's something that's worth looking at in spite of the fact that, people decide which projects they want to, developers decide which projects they want to fund, but councils also decide which projects they're willing to, accept.
Sure. Councilmember Wolf. You have one.
Mr. Chair, if the land is not owned by the city, then whoever owns the land decides who's going to develop it, and they put in an application to the city for development. And if they meet all of the requirements in the zoning ordinance, the city is required by law to say yes. If they're asking for subsidies, then whoever provides the subsidy has the option of saying yes or no. But other than that, if they're not asking for money from the city and they meet all the zoning requirements, the city has to say yes, regardless of the development.
Okay, one more, and then I'll be done. So if there are two different projects that are being proposed to the city council can pick between those two. Is that correct?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Wolf.
Typically, you just get a proposal for a property and the city says yes or no. And if they meet all of the requirements for that property, they have to say yes. The only way you would get multiple proposals is if the city owns the property and does an RFP asking for developers to put in a proposal.
Okay.
If it's a private landowner, then they put in whatever proposal they want and the city says yes or no.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily talking about a private landowner, but we'll continue this discussion later.
I think that this is an important issue you've raised, and maybe worth a conversation. And if anywhere else in our relatively new housing task force that's kind of looking at a lot of different issues. And so, thank you, Councilmember Chambliss, for raising it, and maybe a little learning for all of us to thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Any other questions, thoughts on this motion? All right, Liz, call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss, Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Bento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. Well, that motion carried. Thank you all for so many motions. We're on to other business.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I have one more. City.
You know what? I apologize. You're right. And I've done that now twice for you because I got so lulled into the conversation about this last one. Please go ahead, Councilmember.
Mr. Chair, council members, the last business item that I will present is business item 2020-150 to authorize the 2040 comprehensive plan for the city of St. Paul Park and approve their comprehensive sewer plan. Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached advisory comments and review record and take the following actions. Recommendations of the Community Development Committee are: number one, authorize the City of St. Paul Park to place its 2040 comprehensive plan into effect. Two, advise the city to provide to the council the date the city adopted the final local water management plan that will be included in the plan document that the city adopts, if it differs from the draft January 2018 version contained in the last plan submittal. B, implement the advisory comments in the review record for the surface water management. C, adopt the MRCCA, that's the Mississippi River Critical Corridor Act plan, within 60 days after receiving the final DNR, Department of Natural Resources approval, and submit a copy of the final adopted plan and evidence of adoption to the DNR, Council, and National Park Service within 10 days after adoption. And the recommendation of the Environment Committee is to approve the City of St. Paul Park's comprehensive sewer plan.
Second by Lee.
Great, thank you. Any discussion question? All right, Liz, call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings, Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. Well, that motion carried. Thank you, Councilmember Vento. Now we're on to other business. Final business item, 2020-138, appointments to the Livable Communities Advisory Committee. And as chair of the Met Council, I am pleased to accept the recommendations of the nominating committee for appointments to the Livable Communities Advisory Committee. And just so you know, this is the committee that reviews and recommends funding awards to the council for both Livable Communities Demonstration Account and the Transit-Oriented Development Grants. Its members are drawn from 7 areas of expertise. This year we had 5 openings on the committee in the areas of development finance, local government, transportation, environment, and site design. We had an exceptionally talented and robust group of applicants from the nominating committee. I have to say, did a commendable job putting together a list of finalists. I knew a number of people on this list. I can attest that this must have been a very difficult decision, and it's really gratifying to know that there's people who are willing to step forward and commit their volunteer time to this important work. I really want to thank Councilmember Vento, Councilmember Lee, current committee member James Garrett Jr., and Livable Communities manager Tara Beard for serving on the nominating committee and then conducting some remote interviews on June 4th. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the recommended appointments of Miranda Walker, Meg Beekman, Jacqueline Corky, Jen Cader, and Bruce Chamberlain to the Livable Communities Advisory Committee as described in detail in business item 2020-138. Is there a second?
Vento seconds.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you, and we should commend the staff who helped make our committee appointments possible and seamless. That particular night, we spent 4 straight hours from about 4 to 9 doing interviews, and that's a marathon for Zoom sessions. And so thanks to Katie Driscoll and any other support and communication staff who helped her make that possible.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee, and thank you and others. As I mentioned, these are not only difficult decisions, but it's the process with looking at screens and doing interviews is maybe even more challenging. But appreciate that work and the work that this is very timely because these grants cycle is coming up, and so the work begins this summer. So it's good to have a full committee in place. Any other discussion, questions? Yes, Councilmember Chambliss.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say I'm really excited about having this new advisory committee, and Miranda Walker, I've known her for several years. She lives in Brooklyn Park, has an extensive background in this type of work, and I'm sure all the other candidates, if they're like her, they're going to be great.
Thank you. Putting that on the record. Any other comments? All righty, hearing none. Liz, please call the roll.
Atlas Ingebretson,
Aye.
Barber,
Aye.
Chambliss,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Mousse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zurin,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. That motion carried. Now we're on to reports. I just want to say one thing briefly. We've had some very robust meetings over the past month. Thank you all for sharing your hearts and minds. One issue is the review we've committed to take on for our Metropolitan Transit Police Department, and just want you to know that kind of acting regional administrator Mary Bogey and I have been reaching out and talking to outside groups to be helpful in that process. So we are not ignoring it, and I expect to be able to report more about that process going forward. Meanwhile, we're assembling answers and Q&A questions that have come from all of you, but more on that soon. Any other members have any reports they'd like to share?
Chair, can I ask a question about your last comment?
Yes.
Do you have an idea of when?
As I say, we're wasting no time, but I can't give you an exact answer. I hope to be able to lay that out soon.
A range of time, is that an option? Like in a month, in 2 months?
No, I think that there's two questions. One is when do we begin, and the second is how long do we last? It is certainly our intention to not be seeking necessarily subject expertise, but more a way to ensure our commitment to engaging with community input, to ensuring that we're having a kind of a non-agenda but open understanding of representation for those that are not normally represented to have voices in the process. So, and then the next question is when do we start, and the second is how long do we think this process will take? And I don't know. I don't have my arm on that, except that I think at least as kind of coordinators of that, our intention is to ensure that it's that we're not that we're engaging in it in a way that you would, and given our comments and conversations over the past month, that that is something that you would be a process you'd be comfortable with, and so more important to get it right rather than to react to one or two things.
I guess what I would like to see is a outline of what are the steps that are going to be taken. And so it doesn't need to be the exact details in the weeds, but in the next 2 weeks, we're going to take these steps. that's going to give us X type of information. We're going to use that to develop this more detailed plan, and that's going to take us this amount of time. For me right now, having urgency and having clear action steps are important. We don't know what tomorrow might bring. And frankly, I'm just going to speak very honestly. I still have issues dealing with police complaints from February that aren't addressed. With live people, thankfully, who have not been responded to. So I guess I want to make sure we're getting those things taken care of, and that we have a timeline we can hold ourselves and our staff to accountable to. And I'd love to hear if my council member colleagues agree with me on that.
Okay, thank you. We certainly heard that concern. Councilmember Chambliss.
Yeah, I think that is a reasonable expectation. The urgency of now doesn't even need to be explained, I don't think. I would concur with that. But I have an additional question about the body cameras, and I just like to find out, not necessarily need the answer today, but when are the body cameras going to be purchased and used and applied?
And that's not the first time I've heard that question. You deserve an answer. So it will, unless Chief Rizal or others want to answer it now, I think we should get back with something more specific on that. Yeah, thank you for the question. Any other reports, comments? Right, that's great feedback. Thank you. Councilmember Fedson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would just second those comments. I just wanted to say, I think John might still be on the call, but we're not doing public comments. I asked him if he was on the listening into the meeting today to make public comments, and he said it wasn't necessary, but he did say thank you for the support to the YWCA project support earlier on in the agenda, and said he's very excited about it. So thank you.
Thank you for the comment, and you kind of relayed it, John Commerce. If he wasn't here, it might not have passed. But no, I'm just kidding. It's a great project, and I really appreciate that he was listening in. Any other comments, questions?
Chair, can I go?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to second council members Chambliss and Alice Ingebrigtsen. And also a week and a half ago, I toured some of the damage in the East Metro here in St. Paul with the East Side legislative delegation. And it was both inspiring and humbling at the same time to hear about the hopes and dreams of the businesses impacted. And I hope that we make a good, honest, good faith effort to do some deep soul searching in our own systems and see what we can improve on.
Great, thank you. Absolutely. Any other comments, reports, questions? Mary Bogey, are you here? Do you have anything? I don't think Meredith is here. Meredith is working pretty hard. Someday we'll get her back. But Mary, any report?
Sorry, Chair, just reaching to get off of mute. Nothing more to report. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. How about our general counsel, Ann?
Thank you, Chair. No report.
All right. Well, with that, we have reached the end of the agenda. With the powers invested in me and my tiny gavel, I will wish everybody to enjoy the afternoon, and we look forward to visiting with you soon. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.